Okay, so I'm in my library, different location today, but I'm going to continue working on my version of Project 4 here. I realized last time when I did the reflection of my cabin, it was slightly imperfect. You can see there's these curves here. It's not quite right. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and redo my reflection. So I'll delete this layer that has the reflection on it. This is the cabin reflection brightness layer. So I'm just going to duplicate my cabin again. And the problem was I tried to just like keep the cabin intact and warp it, when really what I need to do is change the perspective of it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and flip it vertically again. You notice when I try to just flip it vertically, it doesn't line up perfectly, and that's because of their perspective. So what I kind of need to do is chop it up into separate pieces. So I am going to do that. I'll just use my polygon lasso tool. I'm going to cut my cabin up into a few pieces, and then I'll distort it, each of these pieces in perspective space. Okay, so let's see. Try this again. This has this little box sticking out of the front. That's going to need its own little adjustment. Oops. So I'll call that box. And then I'm also going to get this, the front face of the cabin. Call this front. That's, oops. How did I not? Oh, I was not in the right layer. Okay, so let's go back. Duplicate this. So that's just my, that's the front. Okay, and then I need to get, I think I need this side and this side to be separate pieces. So I'm just going to grab this face of the cabin. It's on my left, so I'm just going to call it left face. And then I'll grab the roof. Part of this roof is likely going to be off of my canvas, but that's okay. Okay, and then I've got the left roof. Okay, so I can turn this layer off, and you'll see that now I have each of these pieces in separate little spots. Okay, so this guy needs needs to be adjusted. So press Command T to transform. I'm going to, let's see what perspective does if I change it in perspective. See how that doesn't quite get it right. So I think what I just need to do is skew it. And so really I just need to raise this straight up to get it kind of lined up with, I need this corner touching on the left right here, and I need the corner on the right to be touching also. So it looks like a more perfect reflection. And then if I probably pull this over a little bit, it needs to look vertical. If I put some guides here, I can kind of get my vertical guide to see exactly how this stuff should be lining up. Okay, so that looks about right to me. So there's my front. I've got my box, which is this piece here. So I'm going to bring this. It is on top. Okay, so whatever the bottommost corner is, I'll line that up. Then I'll go back to skew and pull this up. Probably the box could have been split into separate pieces also, but I'm going to not mess with that all the way. Okay, so my box is reflecting. And then I just noticed my door like seems like it's getting too wide here, so let's see. That's closer. Okay, so I got my box, I got the bottom of my cabin. Now I need the left face. So we'll get the corner lined up here. And I'm also lining it up along this axis. And transform, skew, just pull this corner up. And really, what I should probably do is pull this up to here. Yeah. That looks more accurate. And then kind of line this stuff up again. All the pieces should be getting a little reflection here. Okay, and then finally my roof. Okay, this is, it's really, see how it's off the canvas here, but doesn't mean I can't fix the perspective of it. There we go. Transform. I'm going to shift. Oh, that's not what I want. Oh, I did perspective. I didn't mean to do that. I need to do skew. Should be able to pull this up. See, since the roof is at a different angle than the rest of the cabin, it gets to be kind of weird perspective-wise, but most of it is off the canvas, so it's not a concern. Okay, so I'm going to call that better. I still think that if I were to, I think this roof is not quite right, but at the same time, it's like so far down and off the canvas, I'm not going to worry about it too much. I'm going to put this stuff in a group. I'm going to call it cabin reflection. Full cabin copy in there. These can all, what I'm going to do is take them all and duplicate them and merge those together. And then this is going to be cabin reflected with blur. Okay, so these guys are these guys were building the perspective. I can turn that off. What is this layer? Okay, so then what I needed was a little bit of blur. So I think I'm going to, last time I just blurred it, but I think I'm going to go ahead and go to my filter gallery and do a small, oh yeah, we can see how far that roof is here, but we don't see that in the canvas. So I'm going to give it just a little bit of a ripple. Like a water ripple, just to make it look like it's actually in the water, and then a very slight blur. Filter, Gaussian blur, and I'll just do 1.5 pixels. In fact, let me step back. I'm going to do the blur and then the ripple. Blur, Gaussian blur. Okay, now that that's there, filter gallery. And my ripple is going to be just really tiny. Almost imperceptible. Okay, and then just so that we can see the water a little bit, I'm going to reduce the opacity a bit. And then these items that are actually on top of the water, like it makes it look like we still see the water there. Okay. So that's, I think, a much better reflection in here. Now to get on to my next part, which is, I think I said I was going to put my monk like balancing on top of this, and I was thinking about it. I've got to think about getting him somewhere up in this area because partially, like, this is going to be covered by my loading screen, right? The bottom third of the image is covered by the loading screen depending on where I set it in there. So if he's balancing on top of this thing, I want him to be like balancing even more. So I'm thinking what I'm going to do is, let me save this real quick. I'm going to find some images of, I was trying to look at reflection here to get how this thing is supposed to be working. So I'm going to look for balancing rocks. going to try to find, I can use one outside image, and this is going to be my image, or some balanced rocks. I'm going to see if I can find one that has a lot of different ones, like something like this. You know, this has multiple balanced rocks. Because then I can use multiple ones in my image. So a good high resolution image here. Probably 6 megapixels will actually do it. Okay, and I want to try to find an image that has multiples. Like this one has multiples. This one has multiples. This one has multiples. Okay, so I've got a few images now. So what I want to do is like try to look at these and see which ones might fit my picture a little bit. Kind of am liking these. I'm liking these, but they don't feel quite as strong. These are nice too, but they're all like they all look the same. These could be nice also. They're a little bit blurry though. A little bit blurry, which once I size them down, that probably won't matter too much, but okay, and then we've got this. Again, this camera focused on the boat back here and not the rocks, so the rocks are blurry. Oh, those are the same, huh? Okay. Between these two, are there any others? Oh yeah, this one. I really like these kind of rocks, these like smooth river rocks, but I don't know if there's one out there that has multiple smooth river rocks. These kind of stones are really nice. Here we go. Just stacked rocks that seem to have some good. Here we go. This one has 2 usable stacks, right? Because the other 3 are hidden by this one. I've got 1, 2, maybe 3, 4 if I use different sections of this. Okay, so it's either this one or this one. And let's look at my image again. I'm thinking these like have kind of a better feel to them. And the coloring is good, so I'm going to go with this as my stacked rocks. This is my imported image. Okay. Bring this guy right in here. Let's see, it went under the cabin was, but I want this. Let's see, I need to put a copy of this in my originals. I'm not used to working on this smaller screen. Let's see. There's a copy of my stacked rocks. Duplicate that, and so I'm going to make a new group for my rocks. Drop this in there, and I need to start cutting out. So let's see, let's grab a few of these stacks to use here. Let's try the lasso tool. Magnetic lasso tool. Oops. Uh-oh. Okay. Accidentally closed it. I must have double clicked. I'm just going to add to this selection here. I think I'm not going to include this little pile of small rocks on the top. Okay. So I'm going to refine that selection a little bit. There's a new. Okay, so this shows me like how my selection is working. I'm just trying to get rid of like any kind of outline that might be there. Um, this edge detection really doesn't seem to be doing much, so I'll turn that on. Okay, so I've got one little set. Box stack 1. It's just these guys here. And then I need to do another one. I'm going to grab, let's see, which ones am I going to grab? This looks like a good little set right here. Do my magnetic lasso tool again. Maybe could have done this just as quickly with the pen tool, but since these are going to be somewhat smaller in the picture, so I am not too worried about how it looks. Okay, so now I can refine this edge. This used to be what's called refine edge. Now it's called select and mask in this newest version. And kind of does the same thing, but it's supposed to work a little bit better. Okay, so I've got, I copy this, ruck stack 2. Okay, so I've got 2 different rock stacks going on now. Maybe one of these will be somewhere. We'll see. Another stack here. I'll go for this kind of taller one. Oops. Just close my selection. Oops, how did I do that? Got a rock that's not supposed to be there. Okay, so we'll subtract this part out. Oh, I was in quick mask mode when I was doing that, which doesn't actually make it take, so let's do this again. Okay. And then I need to take out this little crevice here. Okay. Can we find that selection? rock stack 3. Let's see, is there one more rock stack I can get? I've got part of this one. I think there's 2 more I can get. I can get this group here, and then this little, actually 3, this pile, and this little stack here. So let's just try a magic wand. Oops, not even in the layer. Yeah, magic wand tool's not going to cut it. What I'm going to do is have these kind of littered around the entire area of the scene. So need a lot of them. Okay, what was it, Command Shift R? No, it was select mass. Oh, it's Command Alt R. Yeah, okay. Command Alt R is my shortcut here. Okay, some tiny bit of feather, tiny bit of contrast, usually making the edge a little bit smaller. Okay, this is rock stack 4. I said I would get this little stack here. Let's see if I'm any faster with the pen tool. Probably not, to be honest. But possibly. Something a little bit more calming and enjoyable about using the pen tool for some reason. because I know I'm getting some curves in there. Okay, so that's that group. Now I need to go to my path and make a selection from that path. And can we find that? Command Alt R. Oh, I need to go back to my layers. And go back to this. Command Alt R. Okay. This will be rock stack 5. And then I got this one. Remember those 2 red rocks. I talked about maybe getting this little stack here, or it was a part of this stack, I think. Yeah, this one looks like it could work pretty well. Okay. Okay, so now I've got a bunch of rock stacks. Now we'll place these around my image, kind of in maybe somewhat random patterns. Maybe they're coming out of the water. Maybe he's built some of these both along the edge of the water and also kind of coming out of the water. have some here, not quite in the water. Okay, so I've got a few rock stacks. I think that these obviously need some brightness and contrast reduction, brightness for sure. Okay, and then the ones near the water will need to be reflected, of course. So this one should be a little bit smaller. This is the shadow. No, reflection. Reflection. There's one. Stack one. Reflection. Okay, so I've got that reflected. Need to reflect this guy. Oops. Reflection. Obviously we're not going to see all of that reflection, but I'll fix that later. And this guy has a reflection. Okay, so all these reflections, I'm going to select them and put them into a group. Put all that underneath the rocks. Wait. Oh, this is a reflection also. I was going to say, why isn't that underneath? I can see it sticking out on top right there. There we go. Okay, and then these reflections are going to get the same treatment as what I did with the cabin reflection before. So I'll duplicate them. I will merge these duplicated layers together. The reason I duplicate them all is because I want to keep the original stuff just in case. These will get a little bit of blur, Gaussian blur. The same amount as the cabin had before, and then I will go into the filter gallery, give it a tiny bit of ocean ripple. Oops, that doesn't look good. Not sure what that was about. Let's try this again. Filter gallery. I don't know why it was doing that on the edges. It must be a product of the way the filter works. Let's do a little bit of this glass ripple effect. And even that has a little bit of something going on, doesn't it? Okay. And I think these reflections should get a little bit of their own adjustment too. I'm going to just make them a little bit darker. Okay, then I need to clean up. This one is on, do a mask here. This one's like kind of along the edge of the water, so what I want to do is just paint it back in only where there's actually a place for it to be reflected. So a little bit of a soft brush here, and I kind of take my white brush on my mask and just kind of paint around some of the land and other kind of objects that are floating here. Okay, and then I can also kind of look at some of these other areas. The soft round. Just kind of, so I think reflections as they get longer, they get more distorted, less visible. So there's a big soft round brush here and kind of start hiding the top edges of these a little bit. Okay, so now I've got my stacked rocks, and I decided I'm not going to stack rocks on top of the cabin. What I'm going to use here is my my beads that I have. I'm just about at an hour, so I think my next step, I'll do this in my next video. What I will do is probably bring in my bear, and he'll probably be placed over here. And I'm going to have my guy, I'm going to have the wood beads stacked up here, and he'll be standing maybe up here somewhere on top of a stack of stacked wood beads. So he's all about balance and stuff like that. So maybe a few of these rocks might need to be a little bit darker. I'm going to go in with a burn tool. I think burn makes it darker. And darken these up a little bit. Is it working? What's happening? Oh, I'm in the reflections. That would be why. I need this stack. Let's try this again. There we go. That's working now. These guys were looking a little bit bright to me. Probably all of them are a little bit bright. Just do this. Okay. This guy could use its own little bit of. Okay. There we go. So that's it for today. Today I got my rocks in. Next time, add my bear, add my stack of beads, add my guy, and I think I will be there. So that's it for today. Hope everyone has a good one.